Your stomach has been off for years. You are bloated by mid-afternoon no matter what you eat. You alternate between periods of constipation, urgency, maybe even diarrhea. You've actually learned which restaurants you can eat at and which ones you need to avoid. Your doctor called it IBS. He prescribed you some medication. You took it for a while. It really didn't work, and so you stopped taking it. And you have just been managing. However, lately, something is happening. You are foggy, you are anxious in a way that you never used to be. You are also tired in a deep, dragging way that does not matter. It doesn't lift, no matter how much you sleep. And you are losing words mid sentence. And here's the thing, nobody has connected the dots between any of this. I'm Dr. Stasha-Gae Roberts, nurse practitioner, veteran, BHRT certified, and the founder of Compassion Primary Care. So I built this practice for the woman who's being treated for one problem at a time by a system that never asked whether all of the problems might be one big problem. So here's what almost no one is telling you. It may all be connected and it may be all one conversation. And your gut is just the loudest voice in it. So you are not imagining the connection and you're not making it up. And you do not have to prove you are struggling to be taken seriously here. So let's get into it. Here's the thing, gut problems often worsen in midlife because the hormonal shifts of perimenopause directly affect the gut. Estrogen and progesterone both influence our digestive system and how it works. Estrogen affects intestinal motility, and it also affects the integrity of the gut lining. It also affects the diversity of the gut microbiome. Progesterone influences how fast or slow the gut moves. So, as both of these hormones are fluctuating and declining through perimenopause, women often experience new or worsening bloating, constipation, urgency, food sensitivities, and reflux that they did not have before. This is well documented in the research. And on top of the hormonal changes, midlife brings years of accumulated factors that often disrupt the gut. These things include antibiotic exposure or overexposure, chronic stress, and the standard American diet. Each one of these things alone is manageable and correctable. However, together over decades, they reshape the gut in ways that show up exactly when hormones start shifting. And so the result is what you have been living. It's a stomach that has been off for a very long time, and that is suddenly louder and harder to manage, and now seems connected to symptoms that have nothing to do with digestion. So now let me explain why. The gut and the brain are not two separate systems. You may have never heard this before. They actually talk to one another constantly through three direct pathways. They are physically connected by the vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in the body. It runs from the brainstem straight through into your guts. And signals actually travel back and forth between both directions. They are immunologically connected. Roughly 70% of your immune cells actually live in your gut. And so that means when your gut is inflamed, your immune system is also inflamed. And inflammation in the body becomes inflammation in the brain. They are also chemically connected. The gut produces or regulates many of the neurotransmitters your brain depends on. These neurotransmitters include 90% of your body's serotonin. And this is not alternative medicine, this is established physiology. So, our guts actually have our own dense network of neurons called the enteric nervous system, and they communicate constantly with your central nervous system. So, when your gut is healthy, that conversation supports clear thinking, balanced mood, and stable energy. However, when your gut is inflamed or out of balance, the same conversation is going to look different. It's going to drive brain fog. It's going to drive things like anxiety, fatigue, constipation, and a long list of symptoms most people, again, would never associate with digestion. So, when you have stomach issues and brain fog and anxiety and fatigue, again, those are not separate problems. That is one body having one conversation in four different rooms. So, common nutrient deficiencies I often see include B vitamins, iron, zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D, even when you're eating well. Brain fog is often a downstream symptom of nutrient depletion that started in the gut. Now, I want to talk about constipation and bloating, right? Everybody's favorite. Because these are some of the most dismissed symptoms in primary care. And they're also some of the most important. So, in integrative care functional medicine, the standard for healthy bowel function is 1 to 2 well formed bowel movements daily. Keyword daily. The conventional threshold for constipation, fewer than 3 bowel movements per week. This is quite lenient. So many women are living with chronic constipation and they've been told everything's fine, your bowels are fine, when in reality, they are under eliminating. Your gut is one of your body's primary detoxification routes. And so if you are not moving your bowels daily, these things are building up in your system. Again, when elimination is slow, hormones, especially estrogen, inflammatory byproducts, and metabolic waste, they reabsorb back into circulation than being eliminated. And this is going to worsen symptoms such as brain fog. It also worsens hormone symptoms, and it can also worsen fatigue. So, bloating that gets worse through the day is often a sign of dysbiosis or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, often just referred to as SIBO. These are patterns of bacterial imbalance that produce gas as they ferment food. SIBO is often underrecognized in conventional primary care. And it is one of the most common findings in midlife women who have both digestive and cognitive symptoms. Now, I want to tell you how I approach gut healing in my practice because this is the part that is genuinely different. So, in most functional medicine practices, they use a framework called the 5 R's, which stands for remove, replace, reinoculate, repair, and also rebalance. So, remove is focusing on eliminating triggers, whether foods, pathogens, and overgrowth. Replace is supporting digestion, often with things such as digestive enzymes and bile acids. Reinoculate helps to rebuild the microbiome, and repair heals the gut lining. Rebalance is addressing things such as stress, sleep, and the nervous system function. That sequence works well for many patients. But what I found in my practice is that I often do not or cannot start with removing. Before I remove anything, I have to assess your intestinal barrier integrity first. So there are specific markers that tell me whether your gut is ready for a removal phase or whether we need to support it first. So things that I look at is your secretory IgA low? If your zonulin level is elevated? Is your calprotectin high? If your pancreatic elastase is abnormal? So these are signs that your barrier is compromised, and attempting to kill pathogens or clear overgrowth in a gut that is already inflamed and leaky will actually cause more damage. You're not going to feel good and we're not going to heal. So I first prime the gut. I support digestion with things such as ox bile, reduce inflammation, many times with omega 3s. And if there's any known food sensitivities, we remove that. So I strengthen the barrier first. This same logic also applies to a woman who is constipated. I am not going to attempt to kill pathogens or clear an overgrowth in a patient whose bowels are not moving on a regular basis. My patients have to be eliminating well first. Otherwise, what we're going to do is load her body with die-off and inflammation that has nowhere to go. And this is a setup for symptoms getting worse before they get better. Once the barrier is supported and the gut can tolerate it, then I move into the remove phase. This is where I address things such as pathogens, SIBO, parasites, or yeast that have been driving symptoms. With the gut primed and able to handle the shift, removal happens without the collateral damage it would cause earlier. And so from there, then I continue with the rest of the framework. So we're going to replace with digestive support, reinoculate the microbiome with targeted probiotics, prebiotics, and fiber-rich diet. We're going to repair the lining with nutrients like L-glutamine, zinc, carnosine, and omega 3s. And then always we're focusing on rebalancing the lifestyle factors that affect the gut function, which include things such as sleep, stress, and nervous system regulation. So these things are individualized based on what your evaluation reads. And so what it means for you is that healing is going to take a thoughtful path rather than a protocol driven one. So here's what I want you to leave with. The woman who has had stomach issues for years and now is dealing with things such as brain fog, fatigue, and anxiety has not had bad luck with separate problems. She is very often having one conversation with herself in different rooms of the body. The conversation is the same. Your body is not betraying you, it's actually telling you the truth. Again, the gut talks to the brain constantly. And when something is off, the brain is going to hear it. Real care listens to the whole conversation. You do not have to prove that you are struggling here. You do not have to keep treating digestive symptoms and brain symptoms as if they have nothing to do with one another. Again, we talked about here that they do have something to do with each other. There is almost always a reason, and most of the time it can be found. Compassion Primary Care serves women anywhere in the state of Florida through virtual appointments. And then I also serve them locally in the Tampa Bay Suncoast region with in-person visits either at their home or located at the Wellness Center of Ellington. So ladies, this is not your 20s and we're not trying to go back to that time, but this is not your new normal either. And you do not have to prove that you are struggling to be taken seriously here. I'm Dr. Stasha-Gae Roberts. Thank you for trusting me with your time today, and I am here to assist you in nursing your journey to lasting wellness.